ॐ शन्नो मित्रः शं वरुणः शन्नो भवद्वर्यमा शन्न इन्द्रो बृहस्पतिः शन्नो विष्णुरुक्रमः नमो ब्रह्मणे नमस्ते वायो त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्मासि त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्म वदिष्यामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्भक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु भक्तारम् ॐ शान्तिः 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 ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः 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 ॐ ब्रह्मविदा आप्नोति परम् तदेशाभ्युक्ता सत्यं ज्ञानमनन्तं ब्रह्म यो वेदनिहितं गुहायां परमे व्योमन् सोऽश्नुते सर्वान् कामान् सः ब्रह्मणा विपश्चितेति. We have seen a few things last time. That there is something called Brahman. We don't know what it is yet fully. We know Asti, Asti Kinchit, something is there, and that is Brahman. We know that much. And then we know that this Brahman is to be known as oneself, as Brahmatma, as the very truth of myself. It has to be understood. That also we know. How? We don't know yet. We know something is there, and that is called Brahman. And from the standpoint of the, what is that called? The definition, the root verb definition, what does it mean? It means Mahad Vastu, something huge, something big. How big? Nobody knows, because the size of that bigness here is not an adjective as we have seen, and it is therefore a noun. Not adjective big qualifying a noun, noun big qualifying all other nouns in a certain way, making all other nouns in the universe into an adjective. This is this Brahman. Very, very nice. And that which has the power to mess with the grammar, and we'll be seeing it will be doing a lot of this. And this is this Brahman, and and this is what has to be known. At first, no, not known, has to be gained. Apnoti has to be gained. And what kind of a gain? Jnatam Brahma, we also said, is aptam Brahma. So the known Brahman is gained Brahman. And we saw the Purva Paksha that talked about how this gain, is a so-called gain. It's not like going to the market and buying a pound of vegetables. It is an as though gain. It's a gain of something which is not recognized. Why? And we'll see this later. Pramana abhavat, Shastra abhavat, because the correct means of knowledge is not there, so it is not recognized, and therefore this is what is the problem. This is the problem. Even though it is, even though it is there, it is not, even though one is already Brahman, as was seen from the quotation from the Mundaka Upanishad that Adi Shankara gave. And what was that? Brahmavit Brahmaiva Bhavati. The knower of Brahman is Brahman. So if I am Brahman, then Why do I get angry? Why do I get upset? Why do I feel like beating somebody else up? All these questions persist, and these feelings are there because even though one is Brahman, this Brahman is not recognized. That would be the answer here. And so the non-recognition of Brahman is an invitation to samsara in one's life. In fact, samsara needs no invitation. It comes uninvited. It's a drop in. We can't call it a guest, a pest, a drop in pest. This is what is samsara. It doesn't take permission. It doesn't want anything. It doesn't, it just is there. And so now so this Brahman is going to be explained, elaborated at length. And so that is why Brahmavid apnoti param. So this is what is called in the other bhashya. What was that bhashya? The Chandogya bhashya. What did we see? We saw the word upakrama. What does upakrama mean? Introduction, the beginning. This introduction is upakrama. And another word for krama, what does upakrama do? It gives a pratignya. Pratignya means thesis statement. Upakrama, introduction. So this introduction has been already given here. Brahmavit apnoti param. So since the suffix with is there, with means knower. So the knower of Brahman gains the ultimate. And what is that ultimate? That ultimate is also Brahman alone. Because if this Brahman is Mahad Vastu, some huge Vastu, then the knower of Brahman, cannot be seeking for something other than Brahman. We saw this already. And so now we proceed in the Bhashya to gain an understanding of what this Brahman is. In any language, there are two ways of gaining an understanding of something. One way is through adjectives. How was the movie you went to yesterday? Oh, it was wonderful. So the wonderful qualifies the movie, correct? Yeah. The word wonderful is an adjective that qualifies the movie. Whereas someone else also saw the same movie along with you and they said, oh, it was terrible. So from their standpoint, the adjective terrible qualifies that same movie that you thought or somebody else thought it was wonderful. And so these are what are called in Sanskrit Visheshanas. And the Visheshana also has a definition. How do you define an adjective? What is the definition of an adjective? The definition of an adjective is that it distinguishes other things from within its own class. स्वजातीयेभ्यः विषयेभ्यः अन्येभ्यः व्यावर्तकं विशेषणम्. So many bhyaha. You know, Pujya Swamiji always used to say, if you want to get free bhiksha as a sadhu, if you want to get invited to lunch, go to Punjab because there they are very welcoming of sadhus. And even if you don't know Sanskrit, you just know Rama Shabda declension. And then you can go there and say, Ahamabhyam, Rishikeshabhyam, Agatabhyam, Bhikshebhyah. And then they will think, this is all wrong Sanskrit, okay? So they will be very impressed that you can speak all these bhya, 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 bhyam, bhyam, bhyam. And then they will give you a very nice, lunch. That is what he used to say. So here, so this definition reads like that. Although here in this case it is grammatically correct. Okay, so what is the definition of a adjective. The adjective also should have a definition, right? Otherwise, how to use it? So, an adjective is that which differentiates everything else, from everything else, a particular thing within its own class. What do you mean? Tall tree, leafy tree, dried tree, wilting tree, blossoming tree, and then fruitioning tree, tree with fruits. So these are all adjectives. So when you say blossoming tree, look at that blossoming tree. If I tell you, that means I'm immediately differentiating the blossoming tree from all the non blooming trees around this tree. Correct? So this is definition. स्वजातीयेभ्यः विषयेभ्यः अन्येभ्यः व्यावर्तकम्. Vyavartakam means that which differentiates. Visheshanam. Swajatiyebhyaha is the key here. Swajatiyebhyaha means what? From the members of its own class. Jati means species. This is the definition. So, supposing if I say, and this we will see in great detail very soon, blue lily. That means what? There are many lilies, and I want you to look at the blue lily. If the lily only came in blue color, then there is no point in saying blue lotus, blue lily. That means it's silly. It's not lily. It is silly to say blue lily when there is only blue lily. There is no need for that. It's nothing much is gained. Nothing much is gained at all. So when we say blue lily, we assume that the lily comes in other colors. We assume that there is like Neelotpalam, blue lily. Or we assume that there is Raktotpalam, red lily, Pitotpalam, yellow lily. We are Shuklotpalam, white lily. We assume this. So the words red, yellow, blue, white distinguish the lily jati, distinguish that particular lily from all other lilies in the jati, in the species, in the noun group called lily. This is what is the adjective. The purpose of the adjective is to distinguish it, something from other things belonging to its own class. So there are many types of adjectives. If you do a study of adjectives, another kind of an adjective is called lakshana. It still comes under the category of a visheshana, but a specific kind of adjective. Lakshana. सर्वेभ्यः अन्येभ्यः विषयेभ्यः व्यावर्तकं लक्षणम्. This is the definition. This is the lakshana of lakshana. Lakshana means definition. So here, this is distinguished from visheshana. Visheshana means that which is vyavartaka, that which distinguishes, that which qualifies a particular kind of thing. So that which qualifies here is distinguished from lakshana, that which define. So the definition cannot be like an adjective. It cannot be doing a flip-flop. It has to be extremely specific, and it has to only define that particular thing. Not try to not try to differentiate it from other things of its own class, but it has to define that particular thing alone, nothing else, and no other definition should be there for this. And then this definition for this particular thing should not fit anything else either. This is what here we call lakshana. And I'm explaining this now itself because we are going to encounter this very soon in the Bhashya. So this is what is lakshana. Lakshana means it defines, and then, let me give you a classic example which is used by Adi Shankara. What is that? That example is avakasha pradatra akashaha. The definition of space. Definition of space is what? That which accommodates is space. Why not something else? Because nothing else fits here. This is the only thing that you can say about Akasha, which is specific to Akasha, because nothing else accommodates like space. Avakasha pradatra Akasha. And then if you want a less Vedantic example, you can say that which has got dew lap. What is dew lap? Some kind of a hanging thing here. That like a whatever that called, which has the cows have. That's called dew lap. That which has dew lap is a cow. Sasnadiman gauhu. That which has dew lap is called cow. Then you know that this is a very specific definition, which only fits the cow. It doesn't fit camel, it doesn't fit any other thing. So the lakshana has to be exact. So how to have a lakshana for a human being? Can you say that which has two legs is a human being? Hmm? No? Why? Why not?
O- Other things also have their, 2 legs.
Yeah, like birds. Birds have two legs, and then, and furthermore, if supposing a human being is a pangu means one-legged person, came from the war or something, or for some other reason, unfortunately got one foot, one leg amputated, and then you'll say, oh, you're not a human being. No, so this is not a correct definition. Human being. Therefore, you see how, so in the first instance, you can mistake the crow for the human being. In the second instance, even if one is a human being, you can say you are not a human being because one of your legs is gone. So therefore, the Lakshana has to be really, really exact. And the definition of Lakshana is Sarvebhyah Vishayebhyah Vyavartakam Anyebhyah. So that which distinguishes something from everything else in the whole universe is what is called Lakshana. Now, why are we keeping on talking about this, that too right at the beginning? Because Brahman cannot have Visheshana. Why can't it have Visheshana? Primarily because how many Brahmans are there? Hmm?
One.
One. And non-dually one. Not only just one, but non-dually one. So that one Brahman, just like one space, you don't need to distinguish space from other things of its own class. Not necessary. Not necessary to distinguish space from other things of its own class, other members of this own class. Even though we say ghata akasha, matha akasha, etc., we may say room space, pod space, and the space here, okay, head space. That's why one says I'm spaced out. Okay, so that we even though that is only upadhi vashat, that is only because of the adjunct, the container in which the space is attributed or seen. But really speaking, space doesn't have to be distinguished at all because there's only one of its kind. Likewise, that's why we only need a lakshana. We only need a definition. We don't need adjective for space. Big space, small space, stomach space, pot space, head space, spaced out. All these things are only from the standpoint of various upadhis. But if you're talking of space, there is no need to distinguish it from any other thing. Similarly, with Brahman, in the same manner, Since there is that Brahman which is everything, and there's only one Brahman, non-dually one, as we have seen in the Chandogya Bhashya, here too, Lakshana applies, not Visheshana. Lakshana applies. And so, therefore, the Upanishad is going to teach us about this Brahman, what this Brahman is, by defining it, so that all the difficulties and the vagueness and the fear and all these things that were there as part of samsara are completely gone with with understanding this Brahman as the truth of oneself. So therefore, so with these words, we can look into the Bhashya now. Let us see where that text went. Okay, here. ब्रह्मविदाप्नोति परम्
ब्रह्मविदाप्नोति परम्
इति वाक्यम्
इति वाक्यम्
सूत्रभूतम्
सूत्रभूतम्
सर्वस्य वल्यर्थस्य.
सर्वस्य वल्यर्थस्य.
Yeah. So he talks about it right in the beginning as this statement, the opening words which we have just seen, Brahmavit, the knower of Brahman, Param apnoti, gains the ultimate, gains everything, gains what is called Param, and that Param cannot be outside of you. That Param means that which is limitless, and that which is gaining which nothing more is wanted. And that Param is Brahman alone, we have seen. That Param is not limited by space or time or being a particular object, because that Param is the content, the truth of the subject, the one who is reading or studying these words. And so, Brahmavidapnoti Param, within quotes, iti vakyam, this sentence, sutra bhutam, should be read as a sutra. It is not a sutra, but it should be read like a sutra. What do you mean it should be read like a sutra? It should be read as though it's an aphorism. That's why it is a Mahapratigna. It's a thesis statement. So it should be read as though it were an aphorism. For what? Sarvasya Valyarthasya. For the whole Valli. Who is Valli? Valli means this particular subsection, this particular chapter. So this is a Brahmavid apnoti param is a catchphrase that's going to be unraveled, and it's going to cover in this small sentence, Brahmavid apnoti param, the whole entire meaning of the chapter is there. So in this kind of a short sentence, in this brief unfoldment, Brahmavid apnoti param, in this brief statement is contained the synopsis of the entire whole chapter. The entire chapter is included here, and the same refrain will continue till we reach the end of the chapter. We will be saying, aha, okay, this is what is meant by Brahmavid apnoti param. Oh, okay, this is what is meant. So part by part, going from the from the grossest to the subtlest, all the areas of error, the reasons why one does not understand oneself as Brahman, or why one has to be repeatedly taught about this. All this is going to be taken care of. This is what he says, that please look upon this. This is not an ordinary sentence. Bhashyakara says, please look upon this sentence as a upakrama, as a mahapratigna. So this is the Sarvasya Valyarthasya. The whole Valli is going to expound this meaning alone, the meaning of the word. The knower of Brahman gains the ultimate, gains that which is limitless. gains oneself as that which is limitless. Brahmavidapnoti param
ब्रह्मविदाप्नोति परम्
iti anena vakyena
इति अनेन वाक्येन
वेद्यतया सूत्रितस्य ब्रह्मणः
वेद्यतया सूत्रितस्य ब्रह्मणः
अनिर्धारित
अनिर्धारित
स्वरूपविशेषस्य
स्वरूपविशेषस्य
सर्वतः
सर्वतः
व्यावृत्तस्वरूपविशेष
व्यावृत्तस्वरूपविशेष
समर्पणसमर्थस्य
समर्पणसमर्थस्य
लक्षणस्य अभिधानेन
लक्षणस्य अभिधानेन
स्वरूपनिर्धारणाय
स्वरूपनिर्धारणाय
अविशेषेण च
अविशेषेण च
उक्तवेदनस्य ब्रह्मणः
उक्तवेदनस्य ब्रह्मणः
वक्ष्यमाणलक्षणस्य
वक्ष्यमाणलक्षणस्य
विशेषेण
विशेषेण
प्रत्यगात्मतया
प्रत्यगात्मतया
अनन्यरूपेण
अनन्यरूपेण
विज्ञेयत्वाय
विज्ञेयत्वाय
ब्रह्मविद्याफलं च
ब्रह्मविद्याफलं च
ब्रह्मविदः
ब्रह्मविदः
यत्परब्रह्मप्राप्ति
यत्परब्रह्मप्राप्ति
लक्षणमुक्तम्
लक्षणमुक्तं
सः
सः
सर्वात्मभावः
सर्वात्मभावः
सर्वसंसारधर्मातीत
सर्वसंसारधर्मातीत
ब्रह्मस्वरूपमेव
ब्रह्मस्वरूपमेव
न अन्यत्
न अन्यत्
इति एतत् प्रदर्शनाय च
इति एतत् प्रदर्शनाय च
एषा ऋग् उदाह्रियते
एषा ऋग् उदाह्रियते
तदेशाभ्युक्ता इति
तदेशाभ्युक्ता इति
तत्
तत्
तस्मिन्नेव
तस्मिन्नेव
ब्राह्मणवाक्य
ब्राह्मणवाक्य
उक्ते अर्थे
उक्ते अर्थे
एषा ऋक्
एषा ऋग्
अभ्युक्ता
अभ्युक्ता
आम्नाता.
आम्नाता.
So, Sutrabhutam, we have seen, it is in the form of a synopsis of what is to come and what is to be the purport of this entire chapter. Further, he says, there are three things accomplished by this first, whatever is going to come. Brahmavidapnoti param, tadeshabhyukta, satyam jnanam anantam brahma, yo veda nihitam guhayam, parame vyoman, soshnute sarvan kaman, brahmana saha vipashchita iti. That iti is the quotation mark here. So that up till iti, it is a quotation. And then what does that mean? Here it is specified that there are three purposes of this opening mantras. And what are the purposes? The first one is Brahmavid apnoti param. Iti anena vakyena vedyataya sutritasya brahmanah. So this Brahman, which is Vedyataya Sutritam, meaning it is been presented in a short synopsis form, presi form, how Vedyataya, that which is worthy of being known. It is presented in that form. Vedyataya Sutritasya, that which is presented as something to be known. Not something to be gained, not something to be pursued, other than cognitively, not something to eat, not something to transform, not something to modify, but something to be known. Vedyataya sutritasya, that which is shortly presented in a short way as something to be known. Why? You know, because it enjoys anirdharita swarupa vishesha. So, so it's Swarupa Vishesha. What it is in specifically, Swarupa Vishesha means what it is specifically is not understood. Anirdharita. Nirdharita means well ascertained. Anirdharita, not ascertained at all. Is it a bird? Is it a plane? Is it Superman? Like that, So people are still looking at the sky and trying to determine what it is. Or if you go and look at some files in the U.S. government, I hear that there are a lot of classified files. Classified means it's a nice way of saying you will never get to see them. Okay, yeah. So secret, secret files about UFOs. UFOs means some kind of flying things which nobody can determine what it is. So then, if supposing you can look at these files, and then there will be some sightings. Something looks like a box. Now, there is nothing that, no flying object that looks like a big box, but here it also had some intelligence and it looked like a big box. A few things have leaked out, and some people have talked. So we know this much. So, but it is still, so the subject matter for what are called UFOs. What do they enjoy? Anirdharita Swarupa, Swarupa Vishesha. This is a very good example. So, asti kinchit, something is there. But what is there? Its Swarupa is not defined, it's not decided, it's not well ascertained. And likewise, this is our lot. What is our lot? We don't know what this Brahman is. We just know that it is there. We know that it is supposed to be the truth of oneself, but that much is known. But what it is, we don't know. So therefore, anirdharita swarupa vishesha. It's swarupa vishesha. It's specific thing. Like what is it exactly, and how is it going to remove samsara, and what do I have to do? And of course, it's of no use to say, what does it look like? Because what are you going to get? Because it doesn't have a form. And it is nameless, formless. It is you. It cannot be objectified. So therefore, all these reasons, it remains anirdharita swarupa vishesha. Vishesham. So this Brahman, enjoys the status of not being fully ascertained, whose features, whose definition is not fully ascertained yet. Why? Hello, we are still entering the entering the Upanishad. How will it be fully defined? We have just seen that gaining which one gains the whole. That's all we know. We don't know anything else. So anirdharita swarupa visheshasya. And then what? Sarvatah vyavritta swarupa vishesha samarpana समर्थस्य लक्षणस्य अभिधानेन स्वरूप निर्धारणाय. Now that is a mouthful, and even people studying Sanskrit will feel their heart sinking when they when they read Taittiriya Bhashya. Okay, so we just have to be brave here. That's all, and just go one by one. And let's go with the something that we know very well. What do we know? Last word. Nirdharana we know. That means ascertainment. And so nirdharanaya, like Ramaya, fourth case. So, thank God. So, nirdharana of what? Swarupa. Swarupasya nirdharanaya. Swarupa nirdharanaya. Abba, I feel better already. Okay. So, two words we already know. And what are they? For the ascertainment of what? Its nature. Swarupa. Which nature of what? Of course, Prakritam Brahman, this Brahman which is under discussion for the correct, the unfoldment of its nature, for the correct ascertainment of its nature. And then, so then what else, I lost this place. Oh, yeah. So, Swarupa Nirdharanaya. So, what is this Swarupa Nirdharanaya? So, to ascertain which enjoys Anirdharita Swarupa Vishesha. So, to ascertain properly its nature, which is not yet defined fully, which remains unascertained, other than the fact that it is something that is there, it is huge, and it is myself. Other than that, I don't know anything specifically about Brahman. How, what, where, why, etc., still remain to be answered. In order to understand the nature of Brahman, clearly ascertain the nature of Brahman. Now, how to ascertain the nature of Brahman? I already told you, Visheshana will not work. Brahman is like space. That's why all Vedanta writers keep talking about Brahman and comparing it to space. Because what else can they compare it to? Space or sun? That's all. No other, no other comparisons exist. So, therefore, Lakshana only works. Lakshanasya abhidhanena. Of Lakshana. So by deploying Lakshana. So by the deployment of Lakshana here, by presenting Lakshana, Lakshanasya abhidhanena Swarupa Nirdharanam. So the ascertainment is not through an adjectival exercise. This is very important to know. The ascertainment is through a defining exercise. Adjectives will not work when there is nothing to distinguish. What will the adjective do? Nothing. So therefore, we take recourse to what? We take recourse to Lakshana, a particular kind of a definition, but which is specifically applicable only to that one thing being defined, and it does not apply to anything else. Does not apply to anything else. So, what is a human being? So, supposing if we say the one who has free will, it's a little better Lakshana than saying the one who has two legs. Okay, yeah. So, free will, maybe it will include Gandharvas, Kinnaras, Yakshas, and other celestials, possibly. So, therefore, we have to be again very, very specific. So, here, Lakshana applies because we have to know Brahman specifically. And since this Brahman there are not 100 Brahmans in a pond like a lily, and you have to pick one and bring. So, similarly, so you don't need to know what it looks like. And so, therefore, here Lakshana only operates. Lakshana is only applicable. And so, सर्वतः व्यावृत्त स्वरूप विशेष समर्पण समर्थस्य लक्षणस्य. So he goes forward to define Lakshana. He gives us the Lakshana of Lakshana right here in this little, very, very scary looking compound. So, Sarvatah Vyavritta Swarupa Vishesha Samarpane Samarthasya. So, that which has the Samarthya means the capacity. That which has the Samarthya, the capacity for Samarpana in its presentation of what? Swarupa Vishesha. Swarupa Vishesha means the specific definition of this particular thing. In this case, this Brahman under discussion, this Prakritam Brahma, to define this and how Sarvataha Vyavritta. So, that which is defined as something which is not anything else, which does not apply to anything else at all. It is only for it its particular thing. So that kind of a definition which has the capacity, that lakshana which has the capacity to fit only Brahman. And with the help of that, to do Swarupa Nirdharana is the first, is the first function of this, of the opening statement, the opening mantra. It has three salient features. The first function of the opening mantra is to understand Brahman, whose Swarupa is still yet to be determined. Swarupa Vishesha, meaning its specificities of how I am Brahman and how to know this Brahman, and above all, how to know this Brahman as myself. All that are yet to be determined. The Swarupa Vishesha is yet to be ascertained. And so that ascertainment, in order to do that ascertainment through a tool, through deploying a tool called Lakshana. And what is this Lakshana? Lakshana is not a definition. It's a subset, it's not an adjective. It's a subset of an adjective called definition. And whereas an adjective defines something as specific from the members, differentiates something as specific from the members of its own class. And go back to the example: tall tree, blooming tree, and wilted tree, cut tree, felled tree, yellow tree, tree with yellow leaves, like this. Leafless tree, all these things. So here the tree is common, tree is the species, and then various other things, are described, so that out of all the trees, I look at that particular tree to distinguish a particular tree from all other trees of its own class. So that is the function of a what is it called, an adjective. Here, Brahman cannot have adjectives. Why? Because it doesn't have color. You can't say tall Brahman, it doesn't have height. You can't say fat Brahman, it doesn't have weight. You can't say beautiful Brahman because it doesn't have form. You can't say long-legged Brahman because it doesn't have limbs. Niravayavatvat. It doesn't have limbs. And what else can you not say? You can't say Brahman with two eyes because it doesn't even have one eye to speak of. And so you can't say any of these things. It doesn't have any bheda at all that distinguishes it to have any features. It has no dharma. It has no attributes, no dharmas, no bhedas, nothing. So the adjective fails miserably. So the function of the adjective is not to differentiate the tree from the pond. That's not the function. And the function of the adjective is not to differentiate the lily from the lily pad. That's not the adjective. Lily means other lilies. If there is an adjective to the lily, it's distinguishing a particular lily from other lilies. And here, same thing. It is doing with regard to with regard to trees, etc. Whereas Lakshana means it is a definition that can only fit. It's a custom-made definition which can only fit a particular thing. That's what it is. It's not like, the adjectives can be loose and can be subjective. This is another thing. Like the same movie, three people can see, and for one says, it's okay. Other one says it's wonderful. The third one says it's horrible. And so that same movie attracts three different adjectives based on or dependent upon who is talking, based on their raga and dvesha. It can be objective, as in blue lily, unless one is color blind, one is seeing blue there. But generally speaking, even though it may have, it can be objective, it can also be very subjective, because how we use words like wonderful, horrible, great, and Especially in America, everybody is given to hyperboles. Oh, that's wonderful. And in the office, it becomes in office environment, it becomes extremely vague. Nobody knows how they are doing. Yes, great. Next week walk. I think we are going to let you go. Why? Yesterday only you said I was great. So, it doesn't have much meaning. Doesn't have much meaning at all. One day you are great, next day bye bye. And and same thing in the marriage also, same thing happens. And so in marriages also. And so therefore, the adjective means there could be something which has a subject, it could have a subjective component. Whereas in the Lakshana, the subjective component is very, very difficult for the subjective component to creep in. That which accommodates is space. It's not about whether you love space or you hate space or you are neutral about space or you are spaced out about space. Space is. And what is space? That in which everything is accommodated. It's an objective statement. So the Lakshana means it's a tight, custom made, tight fitting, fully fitting definition, like a custom made gown which only Brahman can wear, nobody else can wear. Okay, so that is what it is. With Satyam, Jnanam, and Anantam as the the highlights of this gown. So it is like a custom made gown as opposed to what is Visheshana, pajamas, loose, and you can just hang out in them, and it doesn't fit anybody, one size fits all, you know that's all it is. So like that, this is something which is very, very specific. It can only fit that particular thing. And so he says that the first function of this whole section that we are about to enter is to make a clear ascertainment of what this Brahman is, which is hitherto mentioned as the one who knows Brahman gains the ultimate, but it has not yet been unfolded with reference to its specificities. And how is this ascertainment going to be made? This ascertainment is going to be made with the help of Lakshana. And what is Lakshana? A custom made definition which is going to fit only this particular Brahman, nothing else. Lakshanasya abhidhanena, by the presentation of Lakshana Swarupa Nirdharanam. That is the first function. Then the second function is also going to be mentioned here. And what is the second function? Before I move on, is this clear? Is the first one clear? Yeah? Yeah, some people are nodding their head and the others are looking a little shell-shocked. So maybe we'll have some time towards the end to ask some questions. Okay? Yeah. So then the second one, so moving on, the second function of this particular mantra, the first mantra here, is to avisheshena cha ukta vedanasya brahmanah vakshyamana lakshanasya visheshena pratyagatmataya ananyarupena vigneyatvaya. Here again, it's a mouthful of words. So let us take the last word again, because it again has some kind of a familiarity. Vigneyatvaya. What case? Huh? Fourth case, yeah. Like Ramaya. Vigneyatvaya. Brahmanaha. Vigneyatvam asti. So Brahman has knowability. It has knowability, means it is knowable. So Brahman enjoys knowability. And in order to know this Brahman, how? Pratyagatmataya. Just skip to that word now. Pratyagatma it means as one's innermost self. What is innermost? These, what is that, these Russian dolls, right? You open one, there is one more. You open one, there is one more. And then there's a tiny one, and you open that, and then there is still one more. So, like this, is it is that what we are talking about? No. We are talking about that which obtains in the buddhi as I. That which obtains as I, sakshitaya, pratyagatmataya, that which I call I, and that I, when all this other nonsense of this body, mind, senses, etc., when all of them are removed, cognitively, of course, and when all of them are gone, then what is left? This is pratyagatma, the Atma, which is the indweller of this body, mind, sense complex, and the Atma, which is the I, which is the owner of this body, mind, sense complex, which dwells within it and which is available to be known and known as everything, as Brahman, which is already known because it is self evident. The self evident I, which is somewhat known. I know I am. But don't ask the next question. What is the next question? Who am I? Don't ask. Because then we have lots of problems because nobody knows. Therefore, one is free enough to come into various conclusions. I am an idiot. I am bad. Nobody loves me. Everybody is against me. Pujya Swamiji would say that in any given situation, he would give this example. Let's say there's a room full of men, and then you say Rama, and so everybody has Rama is a very common name. So many Ramas are there, and then so half the people will turn and say, "Yes, you're calling me," and then you say, then you go into the same room after half an hour in this room full of men, and then you say Krishna, another very common Indian name, and then the other half of the people will look, "Oh, are you calling me?" And then you leave half an hour and go there and say donkey, and then all of them look up because everybody in at some point in their life has been called donkey, idiot, etc., which has been badly and sadly but fully internalized. This is who I am. I am donkey. I am an idiot. I am this, I am that. So like this, so this is what it is. And so therefore this pratyagatma is known. I am is known. But it very quickly attaches to idiot. Good for nothing. And oh, how could you do this? How could you do that? And then, or otherwise, son of so and so, daughter of so and so, wife of so and so, husband of so and so. In fact, in a number of vernacular languages, then when you use the word samsaram, it means family. This is what it is. I have come with my samsaram means I have come with my spouse and children. This is what it is. And so, I mean, it is, I suppose it is telling it like it is, except it is not really the spouse or the children that make the case for samsara. Samsara is just, if you have a head, you are a samsari. That's all it is. Because the samsara is where, the I is taken for what it is not. In this mad mind, in this mad buddhi, that is where the samsara, for samsara, you just need 8 to 10 inches right here. And that is where samsara prospers, thrives. This is where samsara is. So therefore, this pratyagatma is taken to be a bozo, an idiot, a donkey, all kinds of things. So this pratyagatma, which is not a donkey, which is not an idiot, which is not a good for nothing, is taken to be what it is not. And so this pratyagatma has to be saved from from itself, so to speak, because it is unknown, because the ahankara doesn't know the I, it mistakes the I for all the things that are not I. It mistakes the I to be as good as the body, as good as the mind, as good as the senses, as good as all the things that one encounters. So therefore, this Pratyagatma, which is Brahman, is not known for what it is. Pratyagatma is seen as Anyaha. Anyaha means other than me. Something is there, but this is not me. What is me? I am, so and so tall. I am so and so's son, so and so's daughter. I am such and such a person in my office. I am the CEO, CFO, all these things. And then I am, I have so many children. I have a big complex. I am sad. I am subject to anger. I am good for nothing. So the I am is Pratyagatma, and all these other Visheshanas are what? Are nonsense, are all wrong, subjective. Therefore, the Visheshanas won't work because how many Pratyagatmas are there? Oh, it's very hard to understand the population of the world. No, no, no. One Atma that obtains in everyone. Pratyag means innermost, that which is within. Within means what? With reference to a said body, mind, sense complex, we say within. Otherwise, there is no within without, it is all pervasive. But from the standpoint of a particular upadhi, we say pratyagatma. From a standpoint of a particular body, mind, sense complex, the term is pratyagatma. So this pratyagatma is seen as anyaha, is seen as that it's something is there. Yeah, somehow I just know this, but I am not convinced that I am the truth of this indweller. And if this indweller is not the body, not the mind, not the senses, then what is it? Maybe it doesn't even exist. Therefore, what? This person came to the conclusion Pratyagatma is equal to Shunya, zero. Zero. Wrong conclusion. Subjective conclusion. And so therefore, this Pratyagatmataya Ananya Rupena Vijnayatvaya, in order to make this Brahman known, Vijnayam, Vijnayatvam, because this Brahman which has the knowability, in order to know this Brahman as Ananya Rupena, not Anya Rupena, not other than myself, as Pratyagatmataya. Itham bhute tritiya. So the third case, which is used here as in the form of the indweller. So it's a very rare usage of tritiya, but you will find this a lot here in the first portion. And so pratyagatmataya, in the form of pratyagatma, I have to know this Brahman as myself, non-separate from myself, ananya rupena, in order to know this Brahman. And which Brahman is this? Avisheshena cha ukta vedanasya brahmanaha. So what kind of Brahman? The Brahman that was talked about in general, avisheshena, in a general form, that it exists, and lo and behold, that which is you. It was talked about like this generally. Ukta vedanasya, that which was uktam, and uktam means that which was mentioned. Vedana, that which had, which was knowable. It was mentioned that it was knowable, and then what else qualifies Brahman here? Vakshyamana lakshanasya. Vakshamana lakshanasya means that which is going to be talked about in the form of this lakshana. What kind of lakshana we already saw earlier? Vyavritta swarupa visheshana samarpana samarthasya lakshanasya. So that which was talked about as the that which is going to be talked about soon with in the form of a definition, visheshena, specifically as oneself, as non-separate from oneself. So in order to know Brahman as non-separate from oneself, and then finally, what is the function of this opening mantra? Brahma vidya phalam cha Brahma vidah yat parabrahma prapti lakshanam uktam saha Sarvatma bhavah sarva samsara dharmatita Brahma Swarupam eva na anyat iti etat pradarshanaaya cha. So let us again take the fourth case word, pradarshanaaya, in order to demonstrate, in order to show. Pradarshanam means showing. So in order to demonstrate what? Iti etat pradarshanaaya. You know, to show that, to show this particular thing. What particular thing? Actually, it's not just one thing, many things. Brahma Vidya Phalam Pradarshanaaya. So what do you get out of knowing Brahman in order to show the phalam of the study of Brahma Vidya? And what is that phalam? Being Brahman. And what is that phalam? Being free of sorrow and fear. What do I get out of being free of sorrow and fear? Moksha. Even if you don't get moksha, other people get moksha from you because they don't have to deal with you. Yeah, you are free. They don't have to deal with you. They don't have to, what is that called, walk on eggshells around you. They don't have to keep you pleased. They don't have to, worry about what you will think. They don't have to be afraid of you. So therefore, it is a win-win situation all the way. So this moksha, which is in the form of the shedding of samsara. Samsara means that all those wrong notions in the head, which gives rise to sorrow, fear, and all the raga, dvesha, etc. Ajnana, so shedding of atma, ajnanam is the shedding of samsara. So then, what else? Where are we here? Yeah, number 3. Yeah. So Brahma Vidya Phalam cha. So this is Brahma Vidya Phalam. For who? Brahma Vidaha. And so for the knower of Brahman alone, Brahma Vidya Phalam. Not for everybody else. So Brahma Vidaha, Brahma Vidya Phalam. And then Yat Parabrahma Prapti Lakshanam Uktam. How do you get this Brahma Vidya Phalam? This by studying about Brahman and by understanding that this Lakshana of Brahman, what do you get by this? Brahma Prapti Lakshanam. So by understanding Brahman, what happens? What is the Brahma Vidya Phala? Sarvatma Bhavaha. Sarvatma. Sarvatma means what? The understanding that I am not confined to this miserable body and this, mad mind or these nonsensical senses. I'm not confined to them. Then what am I? I am I am everything. Everything rises in me, sustained by me, resolves in me, just like in the dream. In the dream, you are everything. You are totally everything in the dream. You give yourself a body in the dream, you have a mind in the dream, and all the other bodies, let's say you are having a party in the dream, birthday party. And then what? If you're having a birthday party in the dream, then what do you have friends coming, and there is a cake, and then there are other people, then there is other snacks along with many other things to drink. All these things are there. You're having a party. So all the other friends, who are they? They're all you. You have given them life in the dream. You have brought them to life. And then all the table, the party hats, and something you foo, you fee, you blow, and it comes out like that. What is that called? Something children do it, okay? And so there all these party things, and then some things happy birthday, one sign is there. That is also you. Inanimate things, you. Animate, sentient things, you. Everything is you in the dream. You've given yourself a body. You've given bodies to all the beings in the dream. And all the inanimate things, trees and chairs, tables, everything, food items, it is all you. In the dream, you are effortlessly Sarvatma. And when you know Brahman, you are Sarvatma, because then the Jagat becomes a dream. Yeah, the Jagat is as good as a dream because it is there, yes, and you are enjoying it, yes, but it is not to be taken oh so seriously. And so this, the Brahma Vidya Prapti Phalam Ukta Lakshanam, means this Brahma Vidya Phalam, what is it? Saha Sarvatma Bhavaha. So the Brahma Vidya Prapti Phalam is divided into two. The first one is called Sarvatma Bhavaha. Sarvatma Bhava means it is, I am non-separate from everything and everyone. And this is, this has to be distinguished from thinking that, that means I can invite myself for dinner in the next house. No, that's not what it is. So here, I am everything means nothing is separate from me. This is cognitively understood, while at the same time respecting boundaries on the transactional empirical level. From the standpoint of the body mind sense complex, yes, there is a place where I end and then somebody else begins. That you can see. But then, from the standpoint of my own knowledge, I know that nothing is separate from me. And if you study the Devi Sukta in the Rig Veda, that is basically what it is. Very beautiful Sukta. I am the trees, I am the, everything. The goddess says, I am everything. Very nice. That Sarvatma Bhava is very beautifully talked about in the Devi Sukta. So the first Brahma Vidya Prapti Phalam, knowing this Pratyagatmataya, is Sarvatma Bhava. This knowing that I am the Atma of all. There is one Atma, I am that Atma, so I am the Atma of all. Then the second, what is that? The second phala of Brahma Vidya is Sarva Samsara Dharmatita Brahma Swarupam. So I am that Brahman whose nature is Sarva Samsara Dharmatita. Sarva Samsara doesn't mean all the samsaras. So, Dharma, all the dharmas of the samsara. I am an idiot, I am a karta, I am a bhokta, nobody loves me, I am a doer, I am done in, I am guilty, now I am hurt, and now somebody is offending me. And why can't I get what I want? And why is somebody against me? And all these doldrums. This is all are called samsara dharma. So Sarva Samsara Dharmatita Brahma. So Brahman has not a single whiff of samsara. Unlike a asafoetida, asafoetida, this spice, and then if you have put a little bit in a box and keep it, and after that you bleach the box and wash the box and still the smell will not go. So, so if asafoetida is samsara, and a little bit mixed to Brahman, nothing will happen to Brahman. Brahman is samsara proof. The smell of the asafoetida will not even touch Brahman. Okay, and that is basically the idea. And so, sarva samsara dharmatita brahmana swarupam. So, that is the Brahma swarupam. Brahmano rupam is what? Sarva samsara dharmatita brahmanam. Na anyat, not anything else. And in order to show this, iti etat pradarshanaaya cha, esha rik udahriyate tadesha bhukta iti. So therefore, this rik means, I will talk about it more tomorrow. Rik means mantra. From where? Rig Veda. So therefore, this Rig Veda mantra is being elucidated, is being quoted. Udahriyate is being, Udahriyate means is being used as an example to exemplify what this Brahman is. Tadesha bhukta onwards. Iti. Tat tasmin eva brahmana ब्राह्मण वाक्य उक्ते अर्थे एषा ऋक् अभ्युक्ता. Brahmana Vakya here doesn't mean Kshatriya Vakya, Brahmana Vakya like that. Brahmana Vakya means this Upanishad is a Brahmana Upanishad. What is Brahmana Upanishad? It is in the form of prose. There is no, Chanda Vishesha, Chando Vishesha is not there. It is not having a particular kind of meter. It is prose. It's like how you talk. You don't talk in rhyme, okay? And so therefore it doesn't have a particular meter, it doesn't have any kind of a, any kind of a thing. And so therefore this is what is Brahmana Upanishad. So in this Brahmana Upanishad, the Rig mantra is being, is being quoted. Esha Rig udahriyate tat tasminneva. In this Brahmana Upanishad, Brahmana Vakye Arthe Esha Rig abhyukta amnata shruta is heard, is amnaya means Veda. It's only used for the Veda. The root word is mna. Mna. So amnayate, shruyate, amnata. So this has been talked about here, presented. And what is presented, etc. We'll see, later. Okay. Yeah. So I'll say the closing prayer and we'll have some time for questions. And if there are many questions, it can continue tomorrow. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Are there any questions? You can hang in there and don't give up so quickly because everything is going to be explained. And then if, you can just hang in there, things will become clear. Okay. All right. Doesn't look like there are any questions. So that's okay.